Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
We are back. BTS Happy Hour. We were in LA, as you might have guessed, for BTS's Permission to Dance on Stage LA concerts. We attended day 2. So today we wanted to talk about things we saw, our experiences, some observations. So first of all, seeing ARMY just out and about, that was different. I don't usually go to events where there's ARMY other than concerts.
Right. We saw them at our hotel, right?
Yeah. You
can easily identify them.
You can tell once we get to the hotel who's ARMY, who's just staying there, just happened to be staying there and is not there for BTS. I don't know. You could just tell who's a BTS fan. They either have merch on or they look like they would like BTS music.
Do you mean Asian female?
Yeah, I guess just demographic. Like a lot of times you're in a hotel and it'll be like a lot of
right.
older adults.
Not a business traveler.
Right, like someone in a suit or something.
Well, especially we stayed at an airport hotel.
Right.
That would generally have, you would think, business travelers.
Yeah.
Especially, so they don't look like they're there for business, then they're there for BTS.
Yeah, and it was pretty nice. I mean, seeing other ARMY is like, oh, okay, we're all here for the same thing. And so we saw lots of ARMY around the hotel. There's people of all ages, people from different countries. It just seemed like, wow, there's like, every demographic could be ARMY. And they're wearing merch. Everyone seemed friendly. I also saw people were meeting for the first time that were friends because of, online groups they were in, or maybe they were like Twitter friends. So I was like, wow, that's great. I mean, like BTS is helping people make connections and make friendships. And
you didn't meet anyone though.
No, I'm not very social.
Yeah.
I don't have like the skills.
Right.
Yeah, another way to tell ARMY is if they're walking around with a clear bag. Like, we all had to have our clear bag for the stadium, so it's like people would use it for their just like walking around bag. So that's definitely a sign of ARMY there. So since we had day 2 tickets, we were able to see, what was going on with day 1, what people were talking about, what was happening, and how it was going. It sounded like there was a lot of lines, like if you wanted to be in the merch lines, that was taking a long time, and people trying to get into the concert that night, it took a long time because they didn't have a very organized system. Even though there was like 12 gates to enter, you'd think, oh, that would be just spread out and they'd have like a systematic way to do it. It didn't seem like that was the case. So yeah, we were hearing a little bit about that, and so we kind of like made notes so that when it was our time to go, we'd make sure to go early enough. And I was seeing some videos that were being posted for day 1, like sound check and people talking about the set list. It looked like the set list was going to be pretty similar to the online concert, so I wasn't expecting anything too different from that. And, all the videos that I saw, it looked like from the inside of the stadium that it had really good line of sight just from different seats. Yeah, day 1 stuff that happened, I didn't pay like super close attention to what was happening at the concert, but it sounded like it went pretty smoothly as far as like the concert itself, like once people got in. Although I saw a lot of like comments about people that waited a long time and they didn't get to see the first opening songs. And I feel like there's an advantage to going on the first day because it's like this is their first concert back, and so you get like more raw energy. But then other than that, I don't think day 1 had an advantage, since it seemed like other things happened on the other concert nights, and as far as guests, and I think that they were like more loosened up just from what I observed. And maybe the first night they had a lot of nerves from being back the first time. It sounded like they had a really tough time not performing in these whole 2 years, and so a lot of their ending comments had to do with that. And so it sounded like the first night it was like, they had so much anxiety. RM was saying like waiting 2 years to perform in front of people, but as soon as like the concert got there and they were able to be back in the moment, it was easy to let go of those negative feelings and then just perform and be happy. So I was glad that they were able to enjoy that moment. So other things on the first night, It sounded like they had a lot of profanity for some reason. I guess it was just like all the excitement. Like RM was saying, make some MFing noise, and V said, holy shit. And it was like, that's pretty funny. It's like you never hear them say stuff like that, so that's pretty funny. And I'm sure because like they try to like not swear because of like the young fans and the older fans' sake, but you know, sometimes you just have to like just be free with it. And then the first night, Lizzo was at the show. I saw that there were videos. She was in one of the suites, and I also saw that Anderson .Paak and his family were there. He's the guy from Silk Sonic with Bruno Mars, and he's a big BTS fan, or his son is. And that interaction later resulted, like, he got to go backstage with his family and take pictures with them. And then his wife is Korean, and she was like posing with Jin. And I don't know if you saw that, but it was pretty funny because like the way she was looking at him, it was like that picture of that video where Jeff Bezos' girlfriend Lauren Sanchez was looking at Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, we weren't there night one. Let's talk about night two, the day we're actually there.
Okay, yeah. So day 2,
getting there wasn't a problem.
Yeah, and we took a bus, and it actually didn't even cost anything. So that was
just because it was so close. It was just a straight shot over.
Yeah, so that part went really smoothly. The stadium is huge, and started walking up to it. The parking lot is really big, and we were seeing people get dropped off, and then other people were parking. Who did we see get dropped off? There were some people.
2 girls got dropped off in a Porsche.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, well, yeah. That must be nice.
two skinny Asian girls. Their dad dropped them off.
Yeah. That's what I need to set up next time, like get dropped off in a Porsche.
Well, if your dad lives in Bel Air, I'm sure it was a nice Porsche too. It wasn't like one of the cheaper ones.
Yeah, it must have been really convenient for people who live in LA and you're a BTS fan. You can just like...
I don't know if it was convenient. It still probably took forever to get from Bel Air or Hollywood Hills or whatever rich place they live.
Yeah, I have no idea like the distances of places.
It's not even the distances, it's the traffic.
Oh, right.
Things are close but far. So yeah, the logistics too there, fine. Nothing wrong with it.
It is a lot of walking. So if you were wearing like, a lot of people had like nice outfits or like they had a, theme outfit for it. I hope you had walking around shoes, like flat shoes to get there because the place is enormous and to get to your seat, it takes a long time and there's a lot of distance to cover. So that's probably going to be my number one tip is like, okay, bring shoes to walk around in and then change into your other shoes once you get there. And yeah, but trying to get in there, it took a pretty long time. And I thought it would because of what we'd heard and also the experience at Rose Bowl because they allowed the same amount of time. Like you couldn't enter the stadium until 5:30 is when they started letting people in. And that's the same for Rose Bowl, but then back then they didn't have to check vaccines or, probably other things that took more time. So this time that didn't seem like enough time for people. Like if you weren't already starting to line up by 5:30, it might have taken a pretty long time. And like after 7:30, which is when it was going to start. So yeah, so we went to according to the SoFi app, we went to our designated entry, gate 12, and then we're attempting to join a line there. We basically had to like follow a line all the way, like way out to the parking lot is where the end of it was and it seemed like the right line because it ended up being like just one line. After 5:30, that line started moving and it actually seemed like it was moving pretty decent pace.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
I mean, we were walking. It wasn't like we were just stopped.
We would not have made it in on time if we stayed in that line. It's only because we left for another line.
Yeah.
We made it in.
Like all of a sudden, security people were saying, go to this other gate. There's no line
They opened
there.
up another gate. It was probably an executive decision. They opened it up for general or something like that.
Yeah, I had thought those gates were for floor and maybe...
It was for like VIP or something like that.
Maybe all those people went in already, so they were like, okay, let's just let other people use this same gate.
It was a mess logistically all the way around. And I don't know if it's because it was like Thanksgiving or because of the incompetence or because some combination of having to check vaccine plus the number of people. The Rams play there. Don't they have to check vaccine? It's a city thing, right? So they have the same requirements, correct?
Right.
And there are more people at a Rams game. All the seats are open, so logically there's more people. It's not like that. I think maybe they can just get in earlier. They can get in all day, I think. So that eases it. But logistically, it was a nightmare. It was a mess. It was totally disorganized. There's a line to get in. There's a line to stand in an escalator. There's a line to take a picture at the art thing outside, the display thing. All of these lines were ungodly long.
Oh, yeah. We wanted to take a picture in front of the permission to dance sign. Had a pretty long line.
There were people running around, workers, yelling at people to go to the right location. Now, I'm sorry, but your stadium's not well designed if you need to pay people to tell people where to go. It should be self-evident. There should be a flow to it. I've been to multiple stadiums. There's usually just a logical flow. That's not the case at SoFi. And when you have so many people and they all get in late, I don't understand. And some of the sections have like glass barriers to the next section, which I don't understand either. I don't understand what the purpose of those glass barriers are, but...
Probably just design.
I don't think it's just design. They did check our vaccine. Even if they didn't, I don't personally care, but I know a lot of people care. They did check it. I don't really understand what went wrong, but it was probably the worst run logistics outside a stadium and inside a stadium that I've ever seen in my life.
I did see on later days they had set up barricades outside.
It was really bad. You know, in SoFi's defense, I guess, once you're in your seat, the experience is really nice. It's a nice looking stadium. Anyway, enough about SoFi. That's not the concert. That's just the SoFi.
Yeah, but I would say the biggest problem is the entry time and not having the defined lines outside. And also, once you get in, we went in a different gate than where our seats were. So then that meant, we had to go like way to the left and then down like 5 levels. And it's not easy to navigate once you're inside. It's not clear where to go, and it's hard to tell where you're supposed to be.
It has way too many levels.
Whereas compared to Levi, when we were there previously, it seemed very open, and it was like you can just walk directly to somewhere, like to the floor. It's a very quick walk from once you enter the stadium. Yeah, so the setup of SoFi, it had... They had their main stage, and then they had a giant video screen behind that, probably the biggest one I've ever seen, and then a center stage, and they had, I thought the thing above was going to have video, but I guess that was just there for other things.
It could have.
I guess it was not in use.
Could have had something.
But there was not, they probably used that for sports games, like to show scores or something like that.
They turned it on after the concert was over.
Oh, okay.
It had ads.
So as far as the set list, they opened with On, which I'm sure they wanted to keep that as the opener because they haven't performed that before audiences. And it's a really perfect song for opening up a concert. It just has like a lot of energy and a lot of character. And I think those are some of the best outfits they have, the futuristic white outfits. So I think that was a really good, high energy song to start with. And then they follow that up with Fire and Dope. And, these first few songs have a lot of dancing. So I'm sure that part takes a lot of energy out of them. And they also had a lot of, visual stuff going on. So On had a lot of backup dancers, and Fire had a lot of, pyrotechnics going on. And that's when the color scheme changed to red. And then for Dope, they had... That's when they went to the center stage, and then they had a lot of visual stuff happening on the screen. So it was like you're seeing through the camera directly when they were holding the camera. And so I thought that was a really cool effect because you could see a lot of first-person video on the big video screen. So that was a good use of their graphics. And so then after that, they had their opening comments. All of them had some a few words in English, so I can see that they worked on, some of their greetings and stuff. So that was cool. And then we saw Jin did his classic flying kiss. So that was cool. And then Jungkook was like, sup. He's talking like he's from LA now. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. And then they also acknowledged the people watching from YouTube Theater. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right. There's people over there. That's that's cool to mention them. And the YouTube theater was like right next to SoFi. It's like literally in like the same building. So if people were wondering like how close that was. And then after that, they performed DNA and Blue and Gray. And then they did that similar to the online concert, to where they had those mirrors that had previous video of them. So I thought that looked pretty cool on stage. And except this time now they had like totally different hair colors, so that made it look even more like visually different. And then they had Black Swan, which is like really interesting choreography that they had with a lot of the backup dancers. They had the swan feathers, and I thought that was pretty impressive, like the way they had that formations and things set up. After that, they said Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then the Fake Love medley. It was like Jimin was like, here's a song everyone wants to see. And then I was like, wondering, oh, did he say that because we haven't seen that song in a while, or is it because that's the one where, you know, that has like these certain parts of the song that everybody looks forward to? So it was just, that was a funny moment. I think Blood, Sweat, and Tears, like I never seen that one live, so that's one that I wanted to see, since that was like before I'd started being a fan of BTS. So I'm glad they did that one. Although I wish they did more than like a minute of it, because it was a medley into Fake Love. So that would have been, I would have rather seen the whole song, but you know, they can only do so much. And then they did Fake Love, which was really good. And one thing I didn't like was like for Fake Love, they had some stuff on the video screen, and it was like too much going on. It was like these giant hands. And if you see any videos of that, it was like, okay, stop covering up the screen with all that and just like show their dancing, because we mostly just want to see what they're doing. So
the whole concert had too much stuff.
Yeah, like their graphic designer was like really doing a lot.
Oh gosh, too many graphics. I think that people just want to see them.
Mm-hmm. But I did like how they kind of changed it up for each song, as far as like, well, what's going on. Like one would be just dancing, and another would be, you know, we're in this stage versus the other stage. And then for Life Goes On, they came out on a giant bed and then on a couch. And so it's like, okay, that's something different to see. And like Boy With Love, they didn't do the choreo for that this time, but they just they used the screen to show a lot of different things visually, like different colors. And then after that was Dynamite and Butter remix. And I had heard earlier in the day about Megan Thee Stallion might be there, because people had heard that sound check, like they were rehearsing that version of Butter. So I was like, okay, maybe she'll be there. So I was thinking it might happen, and that's what ended up happening. Is like they were doing Butter like normal, and then they were in the center stage, and then she popped out on the main stage,
right,
like at her part of the song, and it was like she came up like from underneath. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That was like,
yeah, people were excited, very excited.
Yeah, I think, and I bet some people were genuinely surprised. They were like not expecting different people to be there. It's like, oh, I'm at a BTS concert. But yeah, remember that she wasn't able to do the AMA, so we don't know exactly like what the reason was, but it's like that it wouldn't have been a for sure thing that she could show up at the concert, because it was not that long ago. But yeah, so I guess whatever it is, she was able to make it. And yeah, so there was like lots of screaming, a lot of excitement once she showed up, and everybody was happy about that. I saw there was like some ARMY, I don't know if they were like joking or whatever, but it was like referencing her outfit, like maybe they thought it was too revealing.
Oh yeah, she was wearing a thong, and you could see her breasts, a lot of them.
I mean,
that's just the way it is.
It's kind of a typical
kind of outfit, though.
Outfit she would wear, and maybe even like a little more cover than she would normally wear. So I was like,
that's fine. I mean, you collaborate with Meg Thee Stallion. This is what you get, right?
Right. I was like, you can't expect her to like be too different than what she normally wears. But I did see a funny meme of, it was like somebody had photoshopped like an Indian sari onto her body in like a screenshot of this. It was pretty funny. It's like similar to the artist protection CG that Hybe does. So yeah, I mean, I can understand if you're from one of those, from a country where it's more modest, the way women dress. But yeah, I'm sure it was shocking to see her outfit. But yeah, that is what she would typically wear.
I think it just more than ever it really hits home that BTS is an international group. They're not a Korean group. They're an international group now. So they will collaborate with. I mean, we know that they collaborate with all sorts of people, but when you see it, it really hits home.
Yeah, and then sometimes you even see that, they've done songs and it's like, oh my god, Jungkook has to say like a profanity in the song because that's just the lyrics, and it's like, oh, sometimes that's like different for people. And then, in that instance, it's like Koreans that are like, oh, this is shocking, what the lyrics are. But yeah, I guess you'll run into that with collaborations, like different cultural clashes. And then they had a part where they were singing Telepathy and Stay, and they went on these little platforms that went around the stadium. And then, so if you were at like the lower part of, once it starts sloping upwards, the lower box area, you would be like right at eye level with them. So those people, they had the advantage during those couple of songs, because then BTS would come right by them on the platform. So yeah, I saw some really good fan cams of that where it's like BTS passed like right by them. So I thought that was a good way for them to like see other parts of the stadium, because unless you were like right near the center stage or right near the main stage, you wouldn't be that close to them. So the later songs, it seemed like there was variation from night to night, and on our night they did Save Me, and then I'm Fine, and then Idol, and then like the last few songs, it was Young Forever and Spring Day. And then, there was some other similar songs that they did on like day 1, day 3, day 4. So, but I was happy with what we got because I really like Young Forever and Spring Day. I think Spring Day is probably one of the best songs ever. So I'm glad to hear that one live. And then, yeah, they ended it with Permission to Dance. So I think that's pretty different than the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour, because then they would end with Microcosmos or like a similar healing kind of song. And I guess Permission to Dance is also a healing song, but it's more of like an upbeat song.
Right.
And so when the concert ends, it's not as sad, I think. It's more like, yay, we're leaving on a happy note, and we're all partying, and it's ending
Most
like
last
that.
songs are like that. I don't know. We've been to many concerts, right? So most last songs have an upbeat nature.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I guess I thought like BTS, they would normally stick with like a Microcosmos kind of song for the ending.
Well, yeah. What are your overall impressions of the concert?
I thought it was really great to see them all in person. You could tell they were all in good spirits, finally getting to perform again, and you could definitely see what they look like too. I mean, I don't think TV or like seeing them on a computer does them justice. They might be people who look even better in person than on a screen.
We generally still saw them on the screen, though.
Yeah, but it was like a huge screen. And they were like moving more. So I don't know. It was very surreal to kind of see them in person. Although we saw them before, so I guess I shouldn't be that shocked by it. But
it was a fun concert.
Yeah, it was a very fun concert. It wasn't the kind of concert where people got emotional, I don't think, because it wasn't like the last stop of a tour. It was more like everybody was happy. So I think that was the tone of it. And I think their comments were really good, and they tried to speak English more than normal. So I was like, oh, I appreciate that, especially, if they learned some English, then that's very respectful, because you're having 4 concert dates in America. So yeah, trying to learn, that's appreciated. And one of Suga's comments at the very end was, he said that they purposely decided to have only group songs, so that way ARMY can just focus on all 7 of them. And I was wondering, like, why did they go that route? Because you'd think, like, if there's some solo songs in there, then that would give more time for breaks, because it's really tough to do as much dancing as they normally do, and I would think solos make it a little bit easier.
Well, I think it's just because they had so many songs backed up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That had so many songs from the pandemic, right?
And title songs, those are all going to be, everybody's on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's one part of it.
And it did affect the product kind of because, like you said, they didn't dance for everything.
Right.
A lot of songs, they just ran out to the middle and just sort of jumped around, or, you know, they didn't do the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tires you out.
Yeah.
You can't do that nonstop.
It definitely does. And in the V Live afterwards, they were saying like how tired they were, or like the next day, you know, it was hard to get up in the morning because of like how much dancing there was, even with the plan that they had. And V was saying like, I'm going to start working out now. Mm. It's like, oh, you're already performing though. It's like, it's late.
It's too late.
But I think he had like an injury, so that's why maybe he couldn't do as much preparation like that. And I had another theory for why they did only group songs, and it's that they were trying to be mindful of fans who only started following them because of like their most recent songs. So like if you started standing them during Dynamite or Butter or Permission to Dance, like those fans wouldn't know the solo songs from Map of the Soul 7.
Right.
So
they just want to hear your greatest hits.
Yeah, and it sounds weird to me because it's like, oh my God, you wouldn't recognize My Time or Filter or Ego.
Well, they're like me.
Yeah, so these fans are more likely to just know those latest English songs or the title tracks. So I think maybe they're trying to keep that in mind, that they have like so many new fans. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of factors went into it. Jimin's final comment was he felt like it was awkward in the beginning, and he felt like they regressed 7 or 8 years in terms of performance experience because, you know, having been out of it for so long, for like 2 years. And I was like, this is when I get angry about all the COVID restrictions, because it's like people are damaged mentally. They're like questioning themselves as performers. Like, this shouldn't have even happened. Like, why for 2 years did like we stop all entertainment and sports and stuff, you know? It's like, was that really necessary?
Well, you know, that's controversial. Some people think so.
I just think we didn't think of the consequences of that, because I'm sure there's a lot of performers that feel the same way, and they're not going to be able to come out to like full stadiums, you know? Like, I'm not saying, oh, let's feel sorry for anyone who's a singer or whatever, but, you know, it's like, if that's your livelihood, that's a lot of people will be affected. I'm sure there's a lot of groups that they disbanded.
Sure it must suck not to perform. That's what they're in the business for, and besides making money. I'm sure they love performing for fans. So let me wrap up. It was a great concert. I'd say of all the concerts I've seen, maybe one of the best ones. I'm trying to think about what was better. Was Drake better? No, Drake was terrible. Don't go see a Drake concert. There's a part where Drake pretends like he can freestyle. It just involves him pointing at people like, "Hey, you over there in the Lakers hat." And then he points at another person and describes what they're wearing. It's the worst freestyle you've ever seen in your life. Anyway.
Well, like, not that many rappers can actually freestyle.
Right.
It's very difficult.
But you're paid millions of dollars to do this thing.
But people think because of 8 Mile, like, oh, anyone can do it.
Well, Eminem can do it. He's shown himself to do it.
Oh, yeah, he can.
Yeah, he can do it. Hey, you get enough money for me to expect you to be able to do it, okay? Don't be like, oh, it's hard. And look at your paycheck. Anyway, it's right up there.
Yeah, I would say BTS and Taylor Swift are probably like the top two.
There were some funny moments when I first came back. I had not gotten back to the seat. I went to go get drinks, but On started playing, and there were a group of girls who didn't get to the seat yet, and they ran really fast, and they almost knocked me over and my drink over, but they didn't.
Yeah,
I would have been pissed.
These were army that was panicking. They needed to get to their seats.
They summoned a lot of speed and strength. Anyway, there was one part where they were all wearing white, but J-Hope was wearing gray, and he had glasses on, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know it was J-Hope.
Oh.
And in that moment, I was wondering, did they let a fan come and dance with them?
A fan.
It's so weird.
Yeah, that was one of his pretty cool outfits. He had this like space-looking jumpsuit.
It confused me though, because it was a different color than everyone else's. I thought it was a fan, and then I realized, no, there wouldn't be a fan there. It must be one of them, right? Speaking of J-Hope, there was a girl in our section who screamed J-Hope all the way through.
Yeah, I watched some of my videos again, and I can hear this
Yeah.
girl.
And then by the end of the night, her voice was hoarse, as you would assume.
Her voice was shot, but
Right.
she was screaming his
Right.
name. Like when in the silent part, she was like, J-O!
It was... I mean, it didn't bother me, but I'm amazed that she kept it up. I don't know why. It's like, I didn't think he was one of the more popular ones. Well, it's just one person.
I feel like the J-Hope fans were the most vocal and going the craziest at the concert.
Right. I think J-Hope may not have the most fans, but they have more intensity.
Yeah.
Because he seems more accessible, I think. He's not like the others. Some of the others seem like they might be like movie stars or something. He doesn't seem like a movie star.
Yeah,
Maybe they feel like they know him,
He's relatable.
I don't know. This is just my theory.
He did a V Live on one of the nights, and then he was like totally fine with the showing the camera around his room and like showing his stuff. And it's like, I'll be like so paranoid. It's like, oh, what if I left the underwear on the floor or something? And I guess people like that. Oh, you could see like he had his clothes laid out for the next day, and all his like toiletries or whatever were just sitting there on the table. So I don't know. I guess that's like part of why people like J-Hope, is like he seems like a normal guy.
Yeah. She really liked them.
And then I didn't hear too many fan chants, and it's either like, okay, people didn't really know them, or
I heard the basic one. Didn't you hear it?
I could kind of hear it in the distance. And I just saw that online, like some people were complaining about that, like, oh, well, why didn't you guys yell out the fan chants? Like, first of all, not everybody wants to do that. Like, for me, that's like too much going on. Like, I don't want to be yelling, and I'm trying to listen and watch everything that's going on. That's like, sometimes that's just like too many things. And like, it's not that I don't know the fan chants. It's like, yeah, I know them. But the other thing is, like, we all have masks on, or most of the people there, so it's not going to be that loud. Or all have cloth on our face, so of course it's not going to be as loud as it would have been before. So, I mean, you can't expect, oh, the stadium's shaking with the fan chants when everybody has a mask on. Which I thought that was a really dumb rule, by the way. It's like, oh, a mask on everybody's face, even though everybody there had a test done or has a vaccine, and we're all outside in the fresh air. It's like, but we still need a mask on. It's like, really? But, whatever. I guess we all agreed to that. I don't think, like, if you didn't have it on the whole time, like, no one was doing anything about it. So, and you could, you're allowed to not have it on if you're drinking. So I was like trying to hold up my cup a lot of the time.
Right.
So.
Oh, I did something. This is a good tip for any of you that go to concerts. Pro tip. When I went to get a drink, an alcoholic drink, they're always going to want to put your drink in a small cup. Don't let them do that. Just either demand or just grab a big soda cup before you get to order your drink. And then as soon as they give you the drink in that small cup, dump it into the big soda cup. Otherwise, you're going to spill a bunch of your drink, and you're going to be so paranoid walking to your seat.
Yeah, or someone like might nudge your arm. And
Right,
like, oh,
exactly.
there's half the drink.
You don't have to fear that if you just grab a big old cup, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Just do that. Something I learned a while ago.
And that was really useful, because then when you're trying to drink it, you don't have to be like, oh, it's perfectly balanced, and let me just take a little tiny sip. But you had like, the whole cup space to work with. So that was a good idea. So we were there day 2, and that had the surprise guest appearance from Megan Thee Stallion with Butter Remix. So I feel very lucky that we got that, because we had no idea, when you buy the tickets, like what if your night is going to be like something special going on or not. So I thought, okay, day 2, that was pretty cool. And then day 3, like, didn't have a guest. Day 1 didn't have a guest, but on day 3, Halsey was there, so she was shown on the screen. So I don't know if that added to the experience for people there, but it's like, oh, well, those celebrities are here. And on day 3 is when you probably saw on Twitter, that's when V wore his Squid Game outfit, and that was pretty funny, because he was singing like "Love Yourself," but then he was wearing like that outfit. Pretty funny. And then the last day, at the very end, Chris Martin showed up after Permission to Dance to sing My Universe with them. So I think that was like really surprising because I didn't think he would come because, you know, Coldplay's busy or maybe he has things to do and can't spare like, you know, these just to show up for 3 minutes to do a song.
Right.
But, you know, like, didn't you say you think he lives in LA or he was just still in LA after?
Doesn't he live in LA?
He probably
Everyone
does.
lives in
Seems
LA.
like a lot of people do. So maybe
most celebrities live in LA, and the ones who don't live in New York.
That makes sense.
Right? And even the ones who live in New York, they have homes in LA. Who the hell only has a home in New York or LA?
Well,
that's poor people shit.
If you're rich, yeah, you gotta...
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you have a home in LA and New York, then you damn well better have a home in Florida for tax purposes. Having a home in just LA and New York, that's, again, poor people shit.
Well, then you gotta pick which one's your primary.
Florida, of course, for tax purposes.
I mean, it should be, but what if you're not there the majority of the time?
There's certain things they have to do. They have to be physically in some of the places a certain amount of time. I once read an article about how Tom Hanks has to deal with this. He can only be in New York a certain amount of the year.
Right, because if you don't want that to be your primary.
Right. No, I mean, if you're physically there all year, the New York State can probably come to you and say, hey, you actually are here all year. You need to pay our taxes.
They can somehow figure that out.
Right. You can't be paying Florida taxes just because you have a home there.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I'm sure there's rules or whatever. Otherwise, everybody, not even rich, it doesn't even have to be a rich person, like even a moderately wealthy person can buy the cheapest home possible in Florida, right? And then just say, oh, I'm going to pay Florida taxes. No, they're not going to let you do that. I'm sure there's some kind of rule. So I'm sure he has a home in LA and New York and Florida.
Yeah, I just thought, well, there's no way Chris Martin has time. But, you know, he made it, and it was a big surprise because I was watching the live stream, and it's like, you thought, wow, it's over. They sang Permission to Dance. They're saying goodnight. It's over. And then all of a sudden, you see on the screen, like, the beginning of My Universe is starting. It's like, oh, my God, this is so surprising. And it's sad for people who were trying to leave early or they thought, oh, it's over, I'm leaving now. And I saw a funny video of someone, they were like outside SoFi already. They were in the parking lot and you can hear My Universe from the stadium and they're crying.
Right, it was a funny video. But the thing is, they were so far out that they left early anyway. They knew they were missing some songs.
Yeah.
It might have been somebody who had multiple tickets.
Yeah, I went to her Twitter feed actually, and she was someone, so you can't feel too sorry for her, but she went all 4 nights.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, she left because she'd seen that. She thought she had seen everything.
Right. It's like, oh, I know it's over.
But here's
now.
the thing. If you paid for all 4, I would stay.
The way she worded it was like, I had to go. So like maybe.
Oh, I see.
Maybe like a ride was waiting
Right,
or something.
okay.
So it's, yeah, probably by that time that person's like, oh, I know exactly when it ends.
Oh,
so
well.
Be here.
I understand.
But yeah,
I would be upset too.
That's unfortunate because when's that going to happen in a stadium again?
Never
Yeah.
in her life.
Like Chris Martin, Martin's not going to sing with
him.
He's not going to
again.
go to Seoul and like pop in.
I mean, she's not going to be in Seoul. Probably. I don't know. Maybe she can be.
Yeah.
Well, we considered going multiple nights, but just decided on one.
Yeah. Let's keep it simple, you know. And it would have taken, I think you said it would have taken like so much energy, that whole process of like getting in, getting out, and 2 nights in a row. I mean, there's people that did it, but you know, I don't know. You might have gotten like burnt out on the logistics of it.
Yeah, the logistics were pretty brutal.
And the leaving the stadium was not as bad as Rose Bowl. Like I don't think anything is as bad as that, but you know, it still took a while. It looked like a lot of people were in traffic for a while trying to leave the parking lot. And the good thing is it's in a city. You could just walk a little distance and, you know, chill somewhere. Like we went to the casino that was right nearby and just, you know, had some late night food there and just waited a little bit for a reasonable time. So it wasn't that bad, but you know, if you were trying to take a Lyft like right after, or an Uber is not a good idea because it's a surge pricing. There's like everybody was trying to get into the same place. But
don't take a Lyft right after a concert.
Yeah, that's not a good idea just because price wise. Better to just like wait it out a little bit or walk a ways and then try again later. But I think there was also buses leaving, so if you had set that up ahead of time, that would have been a good way to leave. I don't know about the public buses late at night, though. That might not have been a good idea because in LA.
No, I don't think it's safe.
At the end of night 4, they announced that they're going to be performing in Seoul March 2022. So I'm sure everybody in Korea was like ecstatic to see that.
Have dates right after that too.
They probably will. That's probably just the beginning of the dates. Because I know people from other parts of the country were like, oh, hope there's more dates. I was like, yeah, I'm sure there are. Like just when they can have them, not in December. And then I saw there's some fan site masters. So I guess these are people that run BTS fan sites. They claim that they were bullied at SoFi and that they were called names and stuff. And people were like taunting them because it's like, oh, those are the people that take pictures illegally of BTS. And it's like, okay, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know. But I was hearing like a different story from other people that said like they were like pushing people, shoving people out of the way, and then they had like unauthorized cameras. Like you're not supposed to have anything more than just a cell phone if you're taking pictures or video. And then there was people that had like professional equipment that they shouldn't have had. And so some people think, okay, these fan site people are just complaining because they got caught, and some of them even got kicked out. I was seeing that the fan site masters were complaining about their treatment at the show, that they got harassed by nearby people. And it's hard to say if any of that actually happened or they are just saying that in response to being called out or caught for whatever they were doing. I did see that people who witnessed like, oh, Hybe security was kicking out illegal streamers and, seizing people's equipment if they had that professional equipment. So, it could very easily just be those people that got caught were just deciding to complain. So, I mean,
they claim that American fans were bullying them, right? That was their specific claim, right?
Right, and then there's like racism.
Well, we don't know what happened, but it seems unlikely to me because they say, oh, they saw that we're Asian and then harassed us. But I think most people in the stadium were Asian.
Yeah, why would Asians harass other Asians?
Why would Asians harass other Asians?
For racist reasons.
Yeah. And also, the people who weren't Asian were white. And I really don't mean to get into politics too deeply, but this is California. It's a very liberal state in the United States. You're not going to find many white people who will say anything racist in public. Now, a lot of people may think that they harbor racist feelings, and I'm not one of those people, but even if you think they do, they don't say it in public because it's very frowned upon in this state. This is not like the Deep South or whatever like stereotypically racist state you think of in the Union, right? So the idea that a stadium mostly filled with Asian people and the rest filled out with white people would harass these site masters for being Asian just seems pretty unlikely to me. I don't think that happened.
Yeah, I mean, this is California. We see Asians all the time. It's not some different thing. It's like, oh my God, that's other.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, Asians? Just like 60% of this stadium?
I know. And who would even know that they're like Asians from Korea versus Asians just from California?
Right. Well, I can tell. I can tell by the way he dressed.
The foreign Asians did seem pretty stylish.
Foreign Asians were different, yeah. They wore more Korean stuff.
They had the like, more current fashion.
You see like tiny girls with like bucket hats.
Right. They had
that's not a U.S. thing.
You said you saw some like girls with like the cutout sweaters.
Yeah. They look more K-pop.
Like what Twice wears.
Yeah. They look more like what you see in K-pop videos.
Right.
And the American fans don't. Generally, I think. So, or maybe they might have been Americans, they dress that way. But the idea that they face racist harassment, I don't know about that. It seems very unlikely to me.
Yeah, I think if people had comments to say to them, it's because of whatever situation happened, like you got in someone's way or you pushed someone or something like that, or you were getting in an argument with someone or you block their view. I don't think it would have to do with anyone's race, because it's like California, like I hardly even see that or experience any of that. It's like everybody's used to seeing Asians. It's really not not a thing.
Yeah.
Did you see when you went to the concessions, was there any kind of a benefit for the SoFi members that we had talked about in a previous episode? Because I don't remember seeing anything like that. Where it was like, oh, you can get in a faster line or something.
Benefit for the SoFi members?
Yeah, these like privileges. Or maybe they're...
like if you're on the app or something?
Yeah.
I had a SoFi app. I didn't get any benefit. I waited in line like everybody else.
If there was a benefit, it wasn't displayed anywhere. Like, oh, get in this line instead, you know? I didn't see any of that.
I waited in line like everybody else.
Yeah. So that was misleading. Maybe if we were really early, we could have checked out that lounge, wherever that was, although I doubt it, because the stadium was so huge, it's hard to get from point A to point B. So like if that was far away from our seat, then it's like there's no way. But yeah, overall it seemed like everybody had a great time, and I could tell BTS was really happy and in good spirits, and I'm glad that like America could offer them that. And because they can't do that in Korea. They even commented like once they go back, they're going to go back to performing in front of just cameras and no audience. So that kind of sucks that that's still the state of things in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I guess that's going to have to change by the time it's March, because how are they going to perform in Seoul if it doesn't change by then? Although, there's
going to be more performances. Don't worry about
that. Do they
that.
know something, though? Because like I don't think the rules changed. Maybe they have it set up special for them somehow. But yeah, overall, great concert. Definitely check out, you know, there's many videos online. If you weren't there, that you could pretty much see the entire thing based on people's fan cams, and, you know, they have the full stream, like the day 4. People viewed that and have recorded that, and I think there's even a replay at some point. So
it was great, but the only regret I have is like I wouldn't want to sing Coldplay, so I wish we were there night 4.
Yeah, no way to
that
predict
would have been
that.
my preference. I mean, Meg Thee Stallion is pretty cool, but I'm not a Meg Thee Stallion fan. I'm a Coldplay fan.
Right.
And I love that song, so, well.
Yeah.
You get an extra song.
Oh, that's true. They got an extra song.
Yeah. I feel like they had the best.
Day 4 also had all the Jin's birthday stuff, so it seemed like they were having a lot more.
But the problem is you got to be there on a Thursday.
Yeah, that's difficult.
That's a real pain.
That's difficult. It's a lot easier to be there on a Saturday or Sunday if you're not in LA.
Right.
Not living in LA.
But don't worry, I'm very confident that next summer they'll have more dates. They'll have a tour. They'll
probably perform in Seoul at least like 3 or 4 times.
And I think they'll figure out some way to postpone enlistment again.
Right.
Since that will be the deadline at this point.
Yeah, especially if they know already they're performing, they've got something in place. Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can listen to BTS Happy Hour on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast platforms, or visit btshappyhour.com. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. New episodes weekly. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Weverse. If you've listened all the way to the end of the episode, congratulations on being a true fan of the podcast, and in honor of the Permission to Dance concerts, comment with a cell phone emoji on our latest Instagram post. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.